I see a lot of confusion online about knit swatching for getting the gauge. So how do you knit the perfect swatch that will serve its purpose? First mistake I often see beginners make is that they only would knit as many stitches as you need per 10 centimeters and then measure like how wide is the whole swatch. However, the issue there is that over bigger pieces our tension tends to change, and also stockinette rolls and it's very hard to like really put it flat down. So if you're measuring from edge to edge, you're not getting accurate measurements. Instead, you should be aiming for knitting 15 centimeter wide and 15 centimeter tall swatch, and then you are counting your stitches and rows only in the middle. Choose somewhere in the middle and count there. Don't count from the edge, count in the middle. And the same applies to the rows too. Second, you need to knit the swatch with the same needles that you will be knitting your garment, and it needs to be knit with the same method as you will knit the finished project. If you're knitting your finished project on circular bamboo needles on round, you should also knit your swatch on round on the same circular bamboo needles. If you'll be knitting flat, then your swatch also needs to be flat. And for the love of all crafting gods, please don't change the knitting method as you go on the project. Third, you need to block your swatch, and you need to block it with the same exact method as you will the finished garment. If you are using the traditional method of soaking and then laying down flat, that's what you want to do with your swatch. If you want to do some alternative method, like for example, I will sometimes pin the garment dry and then I will spray it with the shampoo water, then that is also the way that you need to block your swatch. Usually swatches are done in stockinette, however sometimes patterns will call you to do the swatching in different stitch. You should then always follow the pattern's instructions for swatching. And one of the best things I've done for myself, for my swatches, I keep my own database where I note down what yarn, what needles I used, what gauge I was getting, how I blocked it. And now over the years I've gathered a lot of information, and very often when I need to work with a new yarn, when I need to make a new swatch, I will very often know which needles I need to go for, because I can check back to similar swatches that I have already made. The database I usually also try to remember and enter the data from my finished project, so measure my gauge over a bigger finished project. The bigger the sample is, the more accurate the gauge will be, always on and forever. And in the next video I'll talk about what happens if you have swatched but you did not get the gauge that you were hoping for.